Hi guys, welcome back to this channel, Creativity Incorporated. And today I wanted to start off by showing you guys the sketches of the Patreon printables that I'm working on. Um, as you probably saw from the title, it's a candy shop store. And I wanted to start off with the sketches just so I get an idea of what the book looks like. So I'll start a little bit on the inside before I start on the outside. Um, it gives me inspiration, or it gives me a solid goal or road as to where am I going to go on the cover. So and sometimes I start the inside without even knowing or thinking how I'm going to do the cover, and because I want the cover to reflect what's inside. So anywho, I determined my shape of the cutout, and I'm doing that mix up of this is air drying clay, and I get the big bucket because my daughter and I share it, and so I what I do to make it hard and durable for my journals or my covers is I mix it up with a lot of glue and a little bit of water, and the key is to keep it moist. So every time I have it there, I'll be spraying it over and over. I'll be putting water over and over on it, just because I think she left a little bit open and it's a little dry. Not because you need to. I think when it comes out of the store, it's a little less hard. I I I haven't used it in like maybe a few months, so it might also be that fact that it's been like sitting there for a while. Anyways, remember to score your book or the area where you're gonna apply this to, because you don't want it drying and then escaping your book. So what I do is I sketch it. Make sure you cross hatch it, so that the book or the clay has something to grab on. Then I put glue on the bottom, and then it will put glue on the top too, or the clay too, right? But yeah, so it's simple, it's basic, but it really does work, and I love using this method to build up my covers. They do last. It doesn't fall off. It doesn't crack. It doesn't. Well, it cracks because of the material that it is. So if I don't put enough water, if I don't work my joints enough, it does crack. Sometimes I do my build up very haphazardly, so that I get a lot of cracks, because you want that aesthetic. But when you don't, you have to like really work in your, like every time you add a piece of clay, you want to make sure you work it out in together. You work it together, bind it together. I don't know, so that it doesn't crack on you. Now this is a candy shop. I kind of wanted a little bit of, not cleanness, but you know what I mean, like a clean, cute aesthetic. That's what I'm going for. So I don't want it to be, I'm trying to avoid cracks. If there's cracks, I'll welcome them with my whole heart. But but I'm working for them not to be so many, you know what I mean? So what I do here is, what you guys see me doing is I'm going over and over and over with water, and making sure that there's no cracks. But also I'm shaping it. So yeah, I'm smoothing it out, but water helps you shape the pattern in which you want, and like the smoothness, and for me, the curvatures that I'm working on. So I gotta work on the final curve that because I just when you draw it down, you draw like the basic design. But what I'm doing here is I'm kind of working on my final shape on the top. And I think I take longer on my first one, because it sets off your design for the rest of the whole layout of your clay. So that's why you'll see me taking here longer than usual on the other ones. Once you have this pattern, or how much up and down your pattern goes in, then you decide see, like I try to do lines. I would later remove it, plot twist. But I it's just it determines where you want it to go. Then after you're done, you give it a one last coat before it dries, of course. You give it a last coat of the glue. And you guys saw I'm using regular kits. My husband buys these by the gallon because he makes silly putty, and he makes what is that? Uxla? Ukle.
Like slime.
Slime, yeah, like slime. And he also makes silly putty, and he also makes, what's the other thing?
It's like slime.
He makes different things with my daughter, and I don't know, they're crazy. Anyways, I'm using his glue. But what I do is I do hard body gesso on the base. Now I didn't have a hard body gesso, heavy body gesso in white, so I just used this black one. But I think it's gonna make my pink pinker, or deep pinker, or I don't know. But if you have white, you could use white. I just like using black because I feel that it gives a depth to my colors, not because it's base. But anyways, this heavy body gesso helps like kind of seal the whole thing up, like seal the deal. And I always use it after I'm done, after my clay dries. I don't know if it helps with the hardiness, but I feel like it gives me a solid painting base for it. So what I'm doing here is I did like a two-step paint. I'm doing the pink, like hot pink first. Then I'm going with it's a little darker than a baby pink, but it's like sort of like a baby pink. So it gives me like the highlights. And what I'm doing with the rest of them is this sepia, not sepia, like a seafoam color, I think. Well, you saw the name. You guys can always pause these and see these. Also, I learned that you could also vary the speed on the video. If at any point I fast forward my video so much that you miss something, you could always slow it down on like the settings of the video or something like that. That's what I heard I comment on one of my videos, because I do forward it a lot. I feel like if they become boring at some point when they're too long, and I tend to blabber a lot. So if I keep them short, I blabber less. That's what my train of thought. So what I'm doing here is I am doing like a sort of like a fade. So I start off very thin, and I work my way to deeper white in the center. Don't know why. I just felt like I wanted more than just a blue cover book. And so I'm working in on the center, and like you guys saw that I'm working more and more at it. There's no rhyme or reason, I just work this way. Sometimes you can do it the other way, where you can paint it white and then work your way to blue on the what's it called, on the edges. And I think that would have been fun too, but I wanted it to be more blue, profoundly blue. So I'm doing this. It's not shadow, is it? Probably. In my head, I like to shadow my things because it gives it more a dimension. It gives it like an added dimension. So I try to always add a shadow to whenever I can. So in this case, I'm using a light, not so brown, like a caramelly brown, so that and you also want something to transition between one color and another one, because you don't want it looking just like blue to pink. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding that brownish, so that it gives me that transition between colors, and also that shadowing, so it gives you that dimension. So that's why I add a lot of shadows all the time. If it's not like black or gray, I like to use brown, and this is a caramel color. So I first did it with the darker brown, and then I went back with the caramel color to make it a little lighter, and to make it from the dark shadow to a playful shadow. I don't know if that makes sense. But it's a lighter shadow, I guess that's all it means. And I don't know if you can see, but I also did a little bit of white, like when I was done um, doing the center white on the back. I just went a little bit with the dry brush technique, and I did a little bit of the highlights of the pink, and that was it. What I'm doing here is I'm doing tiny strips of black. That's sort of like making wood strips. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And I'm taking forever because I'm measuring twice and cutting once. So I think they're a quarter of an inch. Maybe. Yeah, they're a quarter of an inch. Okay, this is what I do. The thing is that when I have a size in mind, I'll grab my ruler, and whatever measurement makes sense, that's what I do. But sometimes I use centimeters and sometimes I use inches. But in this case, I really do think it's just a quarter. Okay, this is my sketch of the front. Do I change anything? Not really. I think I really go by the script here. I was a good girl. Because it takes you a while, It took me like a whole day to like go back and forth in the sketching process. And these are the little strips that I cut out of wood. And so I'm going to show, I did the door part, and I'm going to show you how I did the non-door part, the window part. I kind of looked into a lot of the French stores, not French stores, French candy shops, or dessert, or all those things. So I fell in love with the concept of like the window, the door, and the little side window of, showing you the little jars and the little candies. And so that's kind of what the aesthetic I'm going for. Now, on this part, I used this black paper. And then what I did is with my pencil, I did the indentation, because when I did those lines, I did it kind of hard so that I did the indentation. But then I changed it after these door entrance way, because I wasn't too happy. It wasn't what I was aiming for. It was a little too dark for the aesthetic of my video or my look. But because I had already done it, I just stuck with it. So my goal is for it to be like a sort of like a light pine wood, and it came out like gothic kind of wood, like very black dark. So what I did is I went over on top of it with the brown, again, to make more of those wooden grooves. And yeah, so hopefully you guys like this process of wood making. I know there's a lot of wood, and I could even grab the printed wood, but for me, I like the texture. I like the aesthetic of that you see, the grooves, and to me that's important. And so I wanted to do it this way, but then the other way that I do it, it's a little simpler. I feel like it's lacking a little depth. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's nicer, cleaner, but it's lacking depth. And you guys let me know which wood you guys like better. Okay, so once I have my pieces cut out, I start gluing them, and I glue it directly onto the acetate. I feel like it gives me that sturdiness that I'm looking for, because these are all strips. I could have cut it out of the whole door frame and window out of one piece of black paper. You can just make your shape and cut it out. But I feel like you're missing the whole point of it's being different pieces of wood on the display. It is missing the joints, not the joints, but like the different way the grooves are made. And I just I don't know. For me, it's about adding to the aesthetic of the layout, adding to the fact that they're different pieces of wood, and adding to the vintage vibe. All those things in my head. Um, don't know if necessarily are true, but in my head it works. Moving on to my background or my base. I grabbed a piece of, it's a folder, it's a file folder, but it's like a craft file folder, which I freaking love. They're hard, but not that hard, but I like the color. I mean, I freaking love these. So I'm gonna put my inside of my book is gonna be that color. So I'm tracing the shape of my cover because I want to put this brick pattern on top. And if I put it where my my layout is out of the frame, then it's going to be bumpy. It's not going to glue, flat on my paper. Especially because I'm doing like, what's I'm going to call it? Not a 3D, but like I think I put like a little bit of texture in there, and I just really was hoping to get it flat on the paper. Once I had the desired shape textured, I went back and I painted it with the cream color that I've been using. So for me, like things have to make sense, like color wise, because like I already used it on the background, and I used it on the highlights. So I'm using that same like beige off white cream color on the bricks. I wanted it to be like, okay, so like how you paint the bricks but you can still see oldness on there. That's kind of what I was going for. I don't know if it really came out, but I was kind of aiming for that look, because I could have just painted this, that brick color or that red color, and for me that would have like thrown the whole thing off, because I'm going with light colors. So I was thinking of this color. I don't know if at the end maybe I would have done something else, but I really like this brick pattern concept for my candy shop. You know what I mean? Like, it gives me that French vibe, but not really. Tell me which pattern would you guys would have done better, not better, but like you guys would have done instead of the brick pattern for the candy shop cover. I know there's other ideas. Let me know down below. I did a sort of like a washed out, not washed out, but like faded white on the bottom as the background of my store, like the back window. I didn't know. I was thinking of curtains, then I was thinking of like a wallpaper, then I was thinking like maybe people in the background. And then I mean, I had so many ideas, but then I'm thinking, okay, you look at the window, and most likely it's going to be a shadow box on the window, or there's going to be further candies inside. So I was thinking maybe like put like faded like candy jars in the background and stuff. I was thinking of putting me in the background, like like a little cartoon, like, or my kids. But yeah, I went with the boring effect. Okay, let me tell you, I had like a lot of things going on when I was doing this, and this took me about 2 weeks. In reality, it should have taken me 1 week, but because I had a lot of things going on, it took me longer than it should. And I have to apologize to my patrons that this downloadable is gonna be later than usual. Also, I went to start uploading my images, and I noticed that for some reason the old vintage tools from last month's kit was not there. And I was like, did I not put it up, or did something happen? I don't know. Maybe they ran away. So I uploaded them again in case you haven't seen them. But yes, my the downloadables. I uploaded the downloadables of the vintage tools on the Patreons for you guys to download. Again, thank you for those Patreons. I celebrate each and every one of you that join me and help support this channel. It helps me, you know, buy all these materials. It helps me, uh, you know, um, I don't know. It helps me in a way to think that there's some people out there that really like my what I do enough to support me, and it inspires me more to want to do better, do more, do crazier stuff. And if you're here for that kind of sort of game, you know, you're and you feel like you can support our channel, please consider subscribing to our Patreon page. I will leave the link down below. Uh, Enough with the commercials. um, I'm doing a tree. It's not a tree, but it's like you know what I saw a lot of storefronts and like Friends. I've never gone to Friends, but I will one day. When I was researching my cover, um, I saw a lot of people had like these trees, but they would shape them to the store, and I don't know if they were vines, but they were beautiful. They were just beautiful. So I wanted to go with that aesthetic. And before I glued anything else down, I wanted to make sure I got this tree in. So as you guys see, it's kind of simple. You just grab craft tissue paper. This paper is okay. If you go to Home Depot or any of those home repair shops, you get this paper to mask your windows, like if you're gonna paint them. This is that roll of paper. So it's craft, but it's super thin, and I love using it for paper or for shaping or many things. I use this all the time. Okay, so moving on. I have these party lights or little candles that are battery operated, and I'm gonna take them apart. I want to show you how they work. So they're big battery, and it's very simple wiring. um, I have shown you how you can rewire lights from battery or AAA battery to watch battery operated. They're very simple. There's just a positive and a negative wiring to any of these LED lights. This is an actual LED light, one of them, and so that's all it requires. So I'm going to use these as the little lights on the sides of the signs, like the vintage signs, and so on the front storefronts. And I'm going to use one of the bases of the LEDs, and I'm going to take the other one. I'm just going to take out the LED. Now, for me, for my wiring to work, I want to make sure I always mark which one's my negative. Usually my negative is floating in the sky, like this one, or anchored to another piece of metal. And usually your positive or your red cable is going to be wired directly onto the battery or onto the power source. Like if you're going to plug it into the wall. I recently taught my daughter how to rewire some cables, and I feel like that's something that we could all benefit knowing from. Okay, so I take out the light bulb or the light, and then I'm going to use wires to extend the battery from this base. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my wires where the light bulb wires cables were. And so I'm going to start with my positive, which is this red one, and I'm put it exactly where the other one was at, so that I know for a fact that because how the base is made, that's how they want it. They feel like it's the best way to work. So I'm just going to use it the same way they were using it. Okay, so I put the red cable where the old red cable was before, and I'm gonna just reseal it back up because there's no need for me to use this anymore. So you put the battery back on, make sure you put positive and positive, negative and negative, and then I put I'm putting the black one where the other one was. I know I said it was floating. It wasn't floating. It was in the red, the black cable. I'm sorry, it keeps on blurring. I just noticed that every time I put my hand close to the camera, it focuses on my hand. And so anyways, there's a negative plate on the side that when you put it up and down on the switch, it pushes the negative onto the positive, onto the battery, and now it makes a current. So what I need to do is I need to make sure I put my black cable through where that little under the plate where the light bulb, where the other one was at before. And see, I'm just testing that I put my cables right where they need to be. I have to make sure I mark all my light bulbs, and so when I put everything through the back, everything's okay, and I don't have to worry about things not making up or not making sense. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I did these little lanterns. I remember I took off the little plastic silicone thing that covers the light bulb, and I'm going to use that as well. So I put it back on the light bulb, and I grab these I think they're toppers to a nut, a chestnut or something. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know what these are called. These little I call them little fairy houses. My kids pick them up for me everywhere we go, and they see these. So I have a bunch of these, and I have different uses for them. I've used them as mushroom tops. I've used them as just to decorate, and I'm using them as little. It's like just a light. I'm making it light, and I don't want it to be fairy light kind of thing as attitude to it, but it gives me that feel, that whimsical feel, and that's what I'm aiming for, a whimsical feel. I don't want it to be fairy per se, but I'm very happy with the whimsical of the aesthetic of it. So I'm using a plate. You know how your light fixtures are attached to the wall with the plate? So I'm aiming for it. Now at the end, plot twist again, you really can't see them at the back of the thing. I think I should have done a bigger plate, like maybe if I would have thought about it, now that I'm thinking about it, an ornated plate, like bigger, and maybe taking my time and do something fancy. But at the end of the day, there was not much space up there for it to work out. So for it to really have its own space for it. So I guess this was fine. And make sure you mark them. Make sure everything has a black line on it. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put my sign. Then I'm gonna mark where I'm gonna put my holes. And because I don't want any contamination, not contamination, but like cross currency, or I don't want the black and red to mix, so I make sure I put 2 holes on everything that I put through. So I made 2 holes on the back plate of the lamp, and now I'm making 2 holes for the red and the white, the red and the black, to go through the back, so that I know everything's clearly on its own path. Because I think if you cross them at some point, they're gonna not light up. And so I just want to make sure that this is not a complicated wiring or anything, but I just want to make sure I cause myself less problems in the future. Because when you have a lot of little things going on, you want to minimize the problem. So I got these epoxy. It's kind of like an epoxy glue. It's a glue that hardens like a rock, and it's an A and B, and you pretty much just do half and half. Same amounts, and mix and mix and mix. And then what I'm doing here is this is the base of 1, and I extended copper wire to the bottom. You see where it says close? I have the wire tip comes to there, and so when I put the sign that says close and open, when I say open, the lights will turn on. When I say close, the lights will go off. In theory, okay, in theory the lights and the wiring work, but my little sign keeps on like didn't really want to show me. So it I don't know. I wasn't too happy with the sign, but I was happy with the lights and the wiring in the back. It was superb. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just start building up my storefront. I did a few little jars of candies with acetate, and I grabbed my acrylic markers and I did little balls of candies, and I'm gluing them to my storefront so that I can glue my storefront to my storefront book. A lot of storefronts. Okay, in the sign of the door, you guys see it right there, the little square of blackness. It didn't show, and I probably was just wanting to get it over with, and I forgot to put play. I cut out a little slit from the acetate so that the tip of my wire that is bent and it turns on and off the little switch of the base of my lights. I hope I said it right. I'm sorry. But it goes up and down, so I'm able to go up and down. See right there, I'm able to go up and down with the wire on that. You see that copper wire? The tip of it is the what I push up and down for it to go up, open and close. You really can't see it, and I don't know what I guess looking back I could have done a bigger sign, but then it would have played with the aesthetic of my thing. And maybe I would have done something else, like other than an open sign, maybe a flower that goes on and off, or maybe a switch that turns on the lights as I open the book or as I close the book, something like that. But for now, I was happy, even though you can't see open and close. I was happy that knowing that it was there, that you can open and close it, and that when I guess when you're not on camera, you could see more of it, than rather than when you're like from here. Like you really can't see it from here, but when you're up close onto it, you can see a little bit of it. So, I don't know. Looking back, maybe I would have done it a little different, but still kind of stay within the same. I used letter soup to make my sign to put up candy. Candies, I was gonna put candy shop or sweet shop, but I have my daughter is 18, and she her name is Candy. So I did this book in her name, in her honor, thinking of her the whole time. So this journal is for you, my princess, and so I'm putting your name on it. And so the store name is Candy, just Candy. And anyway, so I'm going to paint my tree very watered down. The white little thing that you see there is coffee water. So I'm mixing my brown with coffee water, and I watered it down quite a bit so that it gives you that it goes into the crevices, but not so much. So it kind of plays around with the colors. And so I did a first coat of dark black with coffee water. Then I did a couple coats of I think other browns. But I forgot to talk about the yellow paper that I did there. It's cardboard paper, but it also helps me cover the base of my lighting. So what I'm doing here, what I'm gonna do, it keeps on opening, but I wanted to buy those Velcro dots because I'm thinking in the long run, if you ever want to replace the battery, it should be on a Velcro paper cover, rather than something I gotta unglue and then glue later. I feel like a Velcro would have been just fine. I just didn't have any. I actually do, but I don't know where it's at, and when I remember, it's like kind of old, so it probably would not have worked with this. So I probably need to go to the store and get me some craft dots of the Velcro of and the positive, I mean the circle ones, but I'm using there's a thinner kind of version, not version, but it's a thinner Velcro. I've seen some really heavy, thick Velcros, but the ones I just saw not too long ago, it were thinner, so that they're not as visible as other Velcros I've seen. Anywho, I'm gonna put a branch on this. Is it? What is it, like shade? Like a shade roof thingy? I know. I sound like a kindergartner, huh? Like a thingamajinger. If you're a parent, you know where that comes from. um, and is it? What's a car portable? Is it lighting or is it the thing? See, I don't know how to spoke. So, don't quote me on things that I'm saying. The thingamajinger with the yellow light, yellow string, yellow lines. I put a branch on there, but I made sure that if I had to move it to replace the light, it would still be okay for me to move without it having to cause too much disruption or without having to break anything. So I'm using different color moss so that it gives me different depthness of my foliage on my tree, and I'm going to just tuck it in there. Also, they're different textures. So the first one that I applied is synthetic moss, so it gives it more of a rougher look. And this second one that I'm applying is natural moss, so it gives me more of a softer look. You know what I mean? Like just the depthness. And also the sign where it says candy, that's the wood, other kind of wood that I was talking to you about earlier. How that's a craft paper with like a little bit of brown lines that I did with a little bit like a thin, very thin, thin tip of brown, and I just did like those grooves, the line grooves, and I kind of liked it how it looks better like in person, but in camera I don't like how it looks. Now that I'm looking at it, I don't like it. So I guess the black with the brown paint looks more like wood on the camera side, but when you're in person, the craft paper with the brown and the brown lines looks a little weird. You can't even see it's wood, huh? Look at me looking at my stuff from the camera. I never seen that much of a difference on something that I did in life versus something that I did in a video. It looks completely different. I like it better the other way. Wow, I didn't notice that. Anyways, I'm going to make candies. Now I don't know if I'm gonna end up using them. This is an idea I had. I have this corrugated cardboard, and I'm gonna paint it this caramel brown. Now I first I was not sure if I was gonna make like physical candies, like caramel candies, because when I'm using my jars, I didn't use this color on candies. I feel like it doesn't make sense in my story, you know what I mean? But then I do make it on one of my tags that I drew. I do have caramel. Also, I'm using the same brown that I used on my cover, like the shade that goes around. And I'm using I tried this brown, but I didn't like it. You see, it's the same color of the cardboard. Doesn't give me candy aesthetic. So, ixnay on the second brown egg, and I go back to my caramel braid. And where was I at? A. Okay, so I'm gonna attempt to make candies out of this, and I'm not. At the end of the day, I'm not sure if if I'm gonna use them or not. But this is playing with an idea. I feel like if I don't try things and put them down and make them, so if they're easy, I always do it just in case, I do change my mind, or it looks better than I thought, or it does match, even though I was doubting myself, because I tend to doubt myself a lot. So in case I was doubting myself, or in case it looks better than what I thought it would, I thought I'd give it a try. Okay, this candy is starting to look more like a pastry, but I'm going to put like the sugary thing that goes on top of candies, or like pastries, I guess. And I'm gonna attempt to go over and over on it with them over and over with the pink, so it builds up a little bit of texture. You really can't see it here, but it's kind of there. So these are kind of like the candies I was aiming for. Now I feel like they're very plain and non-story. It doesn't go with my story, but I'm gonna stick with them, and I'm gonna show you what I do later on in the video. Another thing I wanted to try is I traced some of the jars that I drew up into acetate, the big ones, and I cut them out, and I wasn't too sure what I was gonna do. I tried on one of them to paint like dots on the back of them, and I didn't like it. So my next attempt was to make sort of my own jar. So I put I put a background of this vellum paper on my jar, and then I cut up a bunch of candies of this pink vellum. I like how it ended up looking, sort of like a shaker. I think it's cute. I just don't like that it's a black line around it. It kind of didn't go well with me. And this is the other caramel tag that I did. I scanned all these I took pictures of them non-colored and colored, I think. And I'm gonna try. I think I did the non-colored too. So in case you wanted to color your own tags and your own ephemera for the video, see, that's the one I did with the dots. You see how retarded it looks? Yeah, that's why I didn't do it. It was one of those things I wanted to try, and then the minute I finished, I regretted it. But I'll fix it later. I'll let you know how. And these are all the ephemera that I did for it. These are all the jars that I drew up. I also did them blank for you guys. Everything that I'm showing you here, I believed that I took pictures of or scanned without the color, and then you can add your color, but then I also scanned it with color, if you know what I mean. So once I finished my inside, I put a little a piece of hard cardboard in the middle, and before I glued it down, I glued these pink ribbons to them, so that I can use it to bind my book. Now, I've used this binding technique before. I'm gonna remember to link the video down below, but pretty much I'm using these staples. They're cable tacker staples. You cannot find them at Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's or none of those hardware stores. I even tried Dixieline. They don't have them there. You have to order them online. So I will link them down below to my affiliated Amazon link, because that's the only place where I found these staples. And honestly, I wish I can do more books of these, but I don't know why I don't do more of these. I really like this technique. Now, I tried it. I didn't want to paint. I didn't want to put holes on my on this jar paper. I drew up a lot of like a shelf of jars, and since I had not colored them yet, I didn't want to like staple through them yet, so I was like considering not doing it. So what I did here is change my mind and then change it back again. Okay, so going back to my holes, I marked the center of where I want where my ribbon is. Then I go back, then with one staple I mark where the holes of the staples are going to go. Then I just put my holes on the papers, then put my staple through, and with some pliers just bend the tips down. It's very simple, very easy. There is a stapler out there for these staples, but I think that they wouldn't work on paper because they're meant to like be whole, like not bent on the tips on the wall. So I think the stapler would not work for me anyway. So I just do this. And if one day I bump into a stapler at a yard sale or something, I'll buy it and see what I can do with it. And if, but see, it's not that hard or not that easy to do. So I mean, not that complicated to do. You see how I turn on the lights? This is how I turned on the light. Now look how I put the staples loopies, the ribbon through the loops of the staples, and they hold up fine. They work just fine. These are all the ephemera that I made. I tried this case, I tried to leave more white paper than before because I see myself collecting candy wrappers in this book. Or like candy wrappers where you go to places and you eat a candy and you want to maybe do a junk journal of the wrappers of the candies or place or gums that you go to. I don't know, I thought it would be a fun idea, and this is what I did with the candies. I wrapped them up and I put a little quote on the back, and that was it. I mean, I guess you can, I mean, a word, but you could put a quote. I think that a quote would look just fine, and like a little surprise for somebody. Like if this was a gift for somebody, like little encouragement words or something. I think it was super cute, like a sweet comment or a sweet thought. You know what I mean? I thought it'd be cool. Anyway, so that's my little candy gift there. And that's the cutout of my front cover. And that's my name. That's my signature piece. And now we're closed. A million thank yous for coming and watching my crazy videos and supporting my channel. Thank you for all those that have become my patrons and supporters of this channel. I really appreciate it. Anyways, last minute thoughts. You guys I put a display on the spine, and I painted to match my lights. Again, thank you so much. Love you guys. Till next time, stay safe, stay crafting. Bye.